Today we're on to the book of Song of Songs, which, well, I'm not going to lie, it gets weird. I mean, Ecclesiastes was already a bit weird, wasn't it, in contradictory, bleak terms. This one also written by Solomon, I gather, but he's just gone up a big old notch of, okay, we're going to go really kind of weird. It takes the form of, it's quite a short book, it's only chapters 1 to 8, and we're doing the whole lot in one go. It's a conversation between a man and a woman with some friends, or people just denoted as friends, chiming in some words of encouragement along the way. But it's, in biblical terms, you might consider this to be quite raunchy. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of, what's it doing here? There's also no mention of God. So it's like the book of Esther, there was no mention of God there. So that clearly wasn't an accident. We've got 2 of them now. And the challenge is work out what the hell to do with it. It is a bit weird in the sense that most of it takes the form of this man and woman talking to each other and just saying lovely things about one another. But just give you an example of some of it. He says how beautiful she is, and she has eyes like doves. Doves? It's like a bit weird. I'm maybe going to try that and see what happens. And maybe you can make that work and pull it off and it sounds okay. But then try this. We go up a notch. And you have teeth like flock of sheep just shorn. Great, yeah, brilliant, thanks. So what you do with that. I suppose some of this of its time, but it's difficult to see a scenario where that would have been a welcome compliment for a lady. There's loads of talk of myrrh anyway, as in gold, frankincense and then lots of reference to breasts like towers and fruit and fawns. So, yeah, that's what I mean. It's kind of getting, for its day, a little bit raunchy. I suppose society has moved on a bit, such as what's considered raunchy, but yeah, there we go. The problem here is that that's basically that's what I read, and that's all I wrote down. I had 6 lines written on my notes, and the 6th line, all it said was boring. So I had to cheat. I went and looked up some stuff, and I came across this thing in the local video shop, a literal video, VCR, cassette tapes. A guy called David Pawson doing a talk about the Old Testament. So I looked up his, what are we on, Song of Songs one, and watched that to try and work out what on earth is going on. And actually very encouraged, because he's clearly supporting the idea that this is not an easy book to read and interpret. I had a bit of a Google first, and there was this talk about this idea that the love between a man and woman is like a metaphor for God and humanity. But the sexual part in that just makes that really weird, doesn't it? It's what would you do with that? So there's clearly some ideas out there that aren't great. David Pawson, who's did I say that already? The guy who's on the video anyway, clearly a very, very good biblical scholar, and very, very 1993. This video is brilliant. He talks about, to some extent at least, it's an endorsement of human love and sexuality. Okay, well, that could make some sense. I don't know quite why it needs to be quite so weird, but then I guess it, of its time, would probably take care of the weird. So, yeah, fine, we can probably give it that. He does also go on, though, to sort of endorse the idea that it's metaphorical, the love between humans and God. But with the sexual part removed, it's just more like in that terms of possession. So a couple who are loved up like that and talking about shorn sheep teeth. There's very much a sense of possession, like I am hers and she is mine and all the rest of it. And that sort of element of the relationship, I think he seems to be suggesting, is representative of humanity and God. I guess when you take the sexual part out, then yeah, maybe that works. I don't know, but it does feel like it's maybe a bit of a leap to do that. Certainly when you've got endorsement of human love and sexuality, that's okay, yeah, fine, that fits, but the rest of that seems a little bit, yeah, don't know. He does also say, though, that the idea I talked about in the previous video, that Solomon seems to be wise to the extent that you bring him a problem of someone else's and he will solve that for you, but left to his own devices to do his own stuff. He's just a bit of a muppet. Albeit David Pawson did not refer to Solomon as a muppet. There's also, finally, a little suggestion that it's actually 2 men and a woman, and it's the 2 men sort of competing for her. I didn't pick that up at all, and I went back and reread it, and it's, okay, in the tone, you can sort of see where someone might be coming from. And there seems to be the suggestion that it's a king and a shepherd competing for this woman. But David Pawson has an interesting take on that, on the basis that this is written by Solomon, and he wouldn't come off very well in this if it really were the case that a king is having to compete with a shepherd. So he ruled that out. I suppose it's probably just as easy to rule out that a wise man can potentially lose out to a shepherd. I don't know. So again, that feels like a bit of a leap. I don't quite know what to do with it. I think basically I'm going to take the Song of Songs and just kind of like, okay, let's move on, because I don't quite know what we're doing with that. It does seem also that people generally are not particularly clear on that, because you certainly don't hear it talked about. I'd never even heard of that book, to be fair, I don't think. Is that fair to say? Yeah, it probably is fair. So it's clearly not one that gets a lot of attention. Anyway, with that done, we are moving on to the book of Isaiah next, which I'm very much excited to be doing, because I gather that's quite a big deal for the Old Testament. It's quite big as well. And we've got a lot of predictions stuff. So it should hopefully be a good thing to get our teeth stuck into, whether our teeth are like a flock of shorn sheep or not.